at fox.com.
Welcome to Wisconsin Weather Experts. I have meteorologist Stephanie Barkello with me today, and we have a lot of really great stories. Even though our weather here locally seems pretty calm, there's a lot going on in other areas of the country.
There is. We're going to talk a lot about the tropics, I think, starting today, but certainly through the middle of the week, because it's crazy. We have 2 named storms in the Atlantic right now.
And we haven't had much activity really in the Atlantic. It's been more Pacific-based. So we're going to talk about, again, some of those impacts and how the models have changed a little bit over the past few days as well. So let's start off with Tropical Storm Imelda. It is slowly continuing to strengthen as it spins across the Bahamas. The National Hurricane Center forecasts the storm to become a hurricane by Tuesday. Indirect impacts such as rain, strong wind, massive waves, and coastal flooding, as well as dangerous rip currents, are expected along the coast from Florida to North Carolina.
And unfortunately, rough waters already proving deadly from Tropical Storm Imelda. A man drowned Saturday at a Volusia County beach in Florida after being pulled out because of some of those powerful rip currents. So again, even though this storm is not expected to make landfall, it's already proving to cause some issues here. Okay, so here's satellite and radar right now of the 2 storms. So Hurricane Umberto at one point was a Category 5, by the way, over the weekend. It strengthened very quickly. So that's the hurricane. The tropical storm you see is closest to Florida. It developed right over the Bahamas. It's still impacting the Bahamas as well as the coast of Florida all the way up to the Carolinas. The good news is that none of these, again, are expected to make landfall, but Imelda, in the coming days before it shifts towards the northeast, will still bring those indirect impacts. And Lisa's actually going to talk a lot more about these 2 storms in regional weather, so stick around for that.
Well, let's take a look at something a little different, but still taking a look at the tropics. Inside the storm, the Air Force 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron, known as the Hurricane Hunters, took a flight into the tropical storm Imelda. On Sunday, they gathered critical storm data for the National Hurricane Center, and they typically, again, do this where they'll go in, they'll get barometric pressure, winds and all this stuff, and you occasionally see this beautiful image of the eye if it's well formed. Also, though, kind of scary because there's a lot of turbulence. So if you're not a fan of that, I don't know if you'd want to be on these planes.
Yeah, it's always pretty incredible imagery that we receive from the hurricane hunters. But those are also, as you mentioned, the barometric pressure. That's how we know, too, if that storm has strengthened and if the category, you know, bumps up from a 1 to a 2, for example. It's really all because of those observations from the hurricane hunters.
Yeah,
so
and it's
very helpful.
It's very important because you think about, well, we have different instrumentation on land that can get the measurements of the winds. We don't have that in the ocean.
Right.
So the really only way to tell is if there is some sort of buoy in the ocean, but a lot of that, again, is also aloft. So those planes are vital in letting us know where the strength is for these tropical systems.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of the tropics, Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks dives into how various computer models, and that does include some of our newer AI models, handled the development of Tropical Storm Imelda. Check it out.
Well, let's talk about the tropics. It's been a pretty quiet season in the Atlantic basin when it comes to hurricanes, but here's the deal. We have 2 tropical systems in the Atlantic. This one, look at this powerhouse. This is Hurricane Umberto, which became a Category 5 hurricane for a time over the weekend. This is going to miss the United States. It's going to make a turn and miss the U.S. Now, Tropical Storm Imelda, that is off to the west of Umberto, and there was some concern a couple of days ago that that could make landfall in the Carolinas, but that track has shifted now, and that is going to stay out over open water. They'll still have some impact in the Carolinas, but not what was feared a couple of days ago. And here's something as we peel back the layers a little bit that I think is very interesting. I was looking last week, Thursday, at all the various computer models when it came to the development and the direction and track of Imelda, and the AI computer models actually did a little bit better of a job than our traditional computer models. So you might be wondering, whoa, we have AI computer models? And let me just give you a quick kind of summary of this here. Yes, AI is really coming into play now with so many things, including weather computer models, and a lot of these big companies are getting on board. Google, for example, has their GraphCast model. I was looking at that one last week. Microsoft has Aurora. European is the AIFS. There's the European computer model, what we call the numerical computer model. Then there's an AI version. I was looking at that one as well in regard to the tropical systems last week. There's another one called Pangu Weather, and on Twitter there's one that's called NATOcast, which is specific for tornado threats and how great of a threat there is for tornadoes in certain regions. That has also shown some promise there. So real quick, the advantages and disadvantages here to AI weather computer models. AI models run a lot faster than a traditional, what we call numerical weather prediction, or NWP model. Now, most AI models are fairly low in resolution, meaning that you're not getting that real high-res data, so it hasn't been great in extreme weather, or let's say with thunderstorms, things on a really small high-resolution scale. But here's the deal. It's showing a lot of promise, including that NATOcast product I mentioned on Twitter, but also just the other day with Imelda, as the AI models were really the first to curve it out over the ocean. Meanwhile, a lot of the numerical weather prediction models crashed it right in to the Carolinas. So let's talk kind of the behind the scenes here a little bit. Numerical weather computer models use physics and math equations, and you may have heard of the American model before, right, which is the GFS. The Euro, which is the European, we have a model called the NAM model. The HRRR would be a high-resolution model that we use as well in the short term. AI computer models, unlike the physics and math, they are using neural networks and machine learning to create a forecast. So essentially what's happening here is AI models are taking the current state of the atmosphere and then using neural networks, what we would call pattern recognition in meteorology, and putting together a forecast out over several hours and several days. So bottom line with this is the AI models are coming along, and I'll tell you, just within the last couple of days, I've been very impressed from the tropical standpoint of this. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. No model is, and we're a long way from models ever being perfect, but in terms of being a human replacement, but AI models certainly showing promise, and boy, did it show some promise here over the last couple of days in the tropical Atlantic.
Notice how yet was in parentheses here.
Maybe 100 years, right?
Exactly, 100 years from now.
When we're doing this.
No, really, really fascinating stuff. I know, especially as scientists, we love the technology of AI, but it's got a ways to go still.
Yeah, it definitely does. And we still need someone, who can present the weather.
Yeah.
Tom mentioned it's not very good at doing those mesoscale or small events where we're talking about the severe weather. So they're still going to need us. You'll still see our faces on TV.
Please
we're
still
not going
need us.
but it is good that at least we're seeing some of the technological advancements to help us out in the future, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's talk about our regional weather. Stephanie and I have been talking a lot about the tropic development of these systems. We're taking a live look right now at Pine Knoll Shores in North Carolina. And while the skies have been darkening a little bit with those clouds moving in from this tropical system and a stationary front, the waves are also picking up at times. And this is one of many areas that is going to have the threat of high waves, gale warnings, dangerous rip currents. And, when we start to see these systems impact some areas, of course, we also see surfers out there. So we'll be watching it, although it's not advised to swim or take take your boats out, especially along portions of the East Coast, just because of these two tropical systems. Let's take a look right now as we are watching rip currents, again, stretching from Florida all the way into the Carolinas. Now, while that is going through tonight, it likely is going to be extended into the upcoming days. Also dealing with a tropical storm warning for most of the eastern side of Florida because of these two tropical developments. Now, Stephanie pointed this out that yes, we have one of them a little bit further off to the east. That is Humberto. And then the one closer to the Bahamas as well as Florida, that is Imelda. What we're watching with this is, while it's not impacting most of the United States, it really is going to be the southeast coast where we're already stretching the bands of these storms moving in, and the actual path of them has changed quite a bit. As Tom touched into the AI models have been keeping this trend of projecting these two systems to stay out over the ocean, and now all of our other models are also in line with that too. So they're going to kind of meander around each other, making its way up towards Nova Scotia as well as Newfoundland, but we are not looking to see much in terms of potential significant flooding across the East Coast, all because they will stay off further east. Now again, we are still going to watch for some of the high waves, strong winds, and some showers and thunderstorms, but the bigger threats remain out of here. This stationary front also is going to keep things over the ocean, but we'll continue to track that through the upcoming days. The other story nationwide is we are dealing with a series of low pressures and waves moving over the Pacific Northwest. That is going to bring heavy rainfall to some spots as we head through the first half of the week, especially from northern California heading into Idaho, where 1.5 to 2 inches of rain is possible, and that could lead to some flooding, so a marginal risk there for that. Back here at home, though, we have the calmness of the weather across the country. A ridge is setting up over the United States, and that puts us in favor for conditions like this. Lots of sunshine and calm weather as high pressures are in control. High pressure is going to keep things, again, calm across the state, especially through Monday. We have a front lingering off to our northwest, so that could start to include a little more cloud cover in northern portions of the state by Tuesday, maybe an isolated shower, again, if there's even enough moisture to work with. The bigger impact for us here eastward is maybe a few clouds as we head through Tuesday, but still looking to have a lot of sunshine. The temperatures are looking to warm quite a bit. We're already in the 70s for the north to some 80s in southern portions of the state. We're expected, though, to see everyone warm and mainly into the 80s today with a lake breeze that will keep it slightly cooler lakeside. In terms of our temperatures, though, the typical last 80-degree day would be today for us here in Milwaukee, but notice we have many more 80-degree days to come as we head through the end of this month and head into the start of October. That will put us about 15, almost 20 degrees above average for this time of year. We are also looking at extending more of our above average temperatures and possibly more 80s as we head through the first couple weeks of October. Then I think we could have some chances in our extended outlook for at least the middle of the month into the end of the month for some cooler temperatures to return. So I know a lot of people are ready for fall, but a lot of people also love enjoying some of these conditions. As long as our dew points are a little lower, it makes it more comfortable.
Exactly. And I always say too, you know, the 80s in the fall feels so much different than the 80s in July. We still love our cool mornings and our cool evenings. It's just bonus time to warm up in the afternoon.
I love it.
Which is really nice. Okay, so moving on to our next story. A man in Arizona jumps into action. This is amazing, to save several people stranded in vehicles during a flash flood.
I love people because I believe that everybody has a story.
All right, this is Jarvis Johnson. He says he saw two women stuck in their car in the floodwater on Friday, and he didn't hesitate to jump in. Johnson was on the way home from the hospital where his wife had just given birth to the couple's son when his car also stalled in the water. While he waited for AAA to show up, he says he heard an urgent cry for help.
This lady was sticking her head out the window. On the other side, she stuck her whole body out the window, and she was like, help us, help us. And so I ended up, I took everything out of my pocket, and I got in the water. As I was getting in the water, I slipped, I hit the guardrail, I lost my glasses, but I wasn't thinking about that. All I was thinking about, this lady needs help, keep going.
Wow. So Johnson pulled the woman and another passenger out of the car, carries them through the floodwaters. Now, when he was done, he went and found more people to help working with strangers to save them.
Wow. Look, one day they're going to realize that Daddy was a hero.
Exactly.
Oh, man, good for him.
Great story there.
Well, something a little more confusing but yet captivating was spotted flying over the Ann Arbor area. Social media has been buzzing with photos and videos of what some thought could be a UFO. But just to assure you, it's not. There might be some out there, but not from this. We have Fox's Scott Wolfcheck to take a closer look.
A UFO spotted soaring over Ann Arbor, causing a social media stir with these photos popping up on Facebook. Looking closer, it's no spacecraft, but what is this thing?
We probably should have alerted the general public that we were flying because we got lots and lots of comments, but nothing unusual happening. It's a special shape hot air balloon flight.
Not only did Andy Baird with his team at Cameron Balloons build this 130-foot tall, 800-pound monstrosity, Andy was the one flying it.
We had to put it through its paces, make sure everything works out, flew beautifully. It's unusual to build, it's challenging to build, it's challenging, in a way it's challenging to fly, but looks spectacular in the air.
Andy had to take this through a test flight because it's headed to New Mexico, where everybody in Santa Fe knows who this is. He's Zozobra.
So what is Zozobra?
Zozobra is a 50-foot specter that is created when we let each other down, when we create gloom in our lives, create gloom in other people's lives, and that kind of negative energy kind of goes into the ecos, and it actually accumulates into this 50-foot monster that we have to then try to get out of our mountains.
And the way they do that is burning him. Every year, a 50-foot puppet is stuffed with letters, notes, and objects that bring grief, and then they light this sucker up.
Get rid of it, burn it up, cleanse, start anew.
That fire spirit then battles the Zobra in kind of this good versus bad kind of battle. And that fire spirit's able to do the Zobra in and actually light him on fire and vanquish him for one more year.
This special balloon was made for the 100th anniversary of the festival. The balloon itself will not be burned. It's actually heading to Albuquerque for a big balloon festival on October 1st. But you can always mail your misery down to Santa Fe to have it get torched at next year's Zozobra burning. In Ann Arbor, Scott Wolfcheck, Fox 2 News.
All right, the more you know.
Mystery solved.
Love it. Not even a weather balloon, but
hey,
a balloon.
You know, we're getting into season. I'm glad our weather balloons do not look like
Me
that.
too,
Because
thank
I
goodness.
think a lot of people would be freaked out.
Yeah.
But you know, heading there, and of course, that balloon festival we were talking a little bit about, that's coming up too in October.
It is.
So maybe we'll have some coverage on that. We'll have a lot more coverage coming up, especially about something else a little spooky.
Ooh.
Spiders.
Wait
have
for
you
it.
seen a lot of them? We'll talk about why after the break.
to Wisconsin weather experts. All right, this is an interesting one, but we know everybody feels the same way. So recently, it was late last week, we received a viewer photo of a ton of spider webs. And I posted this actually on my Facebook page, so feel free to go look at it. But here is that picture.
And it's incredible. I mean, it really looks even better on the desktop or on your phone. So look at Stephanie's page because this is crazy. I mean, all of those webs are lit up in the sun. And that may make you wonder, well, why are we having this many spider webs? Well, spooky season is just around the corner. And yes, you may notice an uptick in spider webs and spiders recently, but the reason for increased activity in the fall, this is for several reasons. Number one, the fall is primary breeding season for many spider species, so they're out there making their webs, not only trying to find a mate, but also setting up their webs where they could breed. As temperatures decrease, spiders also look for a warm, safe place to survive in the cold winters. Number three, there's still a significant number of flying insects. I'm sure you've noticed that outside in early fall. This will lead to more web building so that they can hunt for vital food before winter arrives. And number four, the spiders are fully grown by autumn. They are born usually in the spring, so that makes the appearance of them bigger. That makes their webs even bigger. But just note that no matter how scary they look, and I know this is hard for me to digest as well as others, experts say that if you see one in your home, the best thing to do is to let it be, or I'd probably do this, try trapping it if you can, releasing it outside. Most of the spiders will relocate, and most of them aren't dangerous to people. Now, they do kill smaller insects that you might not want to have hanging around.
Like mosquitoes, which is actually why we kept the spiders by us. I have a web that looks like this. It's on my garage. It always comes back, even when the rain took it down. The spider is massive and terrifying.
She showed me a picture. It does not look very good.
It's terrifying.
Do you name it?
No.
You should at this point.
I was laughing at that video though, because I really think we should have had like a trigger alert.
Yes.
The video was very intense.
You know, a lot of spiders. There we go. But they're out there, and we're seeing a lot of other things happening in fall.
We are. Yeah. So with Halloween approaching too, many people are looking for the perfect pumpkin, aren't we all? Maybe even a giant pumpkin. One grower is taking it to another level too. So Fox's Eric Peterson introduces us to the family in Fond du Lac County growing giant vegetables.
In a small outside patch just northeast of Fond du Lac, Del Faust and his wife Julie have been growing giants for years.
Right here we have the Atlantic giants. One is white and one is yellow.
Okay.
And next to them are the bushel gourds. That's another competition. Then we have down there we have a marrow, and back in the leaves is a field gourd.
Wisconsin Giant Pumpkin Growers Association President Del Faust says inside this high tunnel is another giant.
Long gourds, which Julie and I are currently U.S. record holders at 159.25 inches long. We had to dig a 2 or 3 foot hole so it would keep growing straight.
Julie says giant tomatoes are her favorite.
I go out here for 2 minutes and it's 2 hours to clip them and get them where you want. You go for the mega blooms, which is a fused blossoms. And we were lucky enough 3 years ago to get an 11.65 pound tomato. And so that was a world record in Guinness, and it was a certified record.
Julie says she has a couple prospects this year.
We won like almost 7 pounds for early way off, but we're hoping some of those mega blooms still might come through.
Just up the hill, Del is banking on this giant Wisconsin watermelon to get some attention.
Up here you have to kind of baby them along a little. And the climate isn't just right for watermelon, but when you get a big one, you're still competing on a state level.
In Fond du Lac County, Eric Peterson, Fox 11 News.
It's always so impressive to me, especially the big pumpkins.
Yeah, and I love them, but I just want to take one home.
I know.
If they were cheaper.
Yeah, right, exactly. Here's a live look outside real quick. We have just a little bit more coming up on Wisconsin Weather Experts. Stay with us. everybody, to Wisconsin weather experts, ending the show on a really soothing, pretty note. Check out these pictures of sunflowers. It's actually from New Jersey, but just lovely. Wow. A beautiful sight from a sunflower field. This is in Cream Ridge, New Jersey. These are from Stone Tavern Orchard, where the fall festivities are in full swing. Obviously, here in southeast Wisconsin, we also have those beautiful sunflower seed fields. But the season is coming to a close. Usually early October is when all those sunflowers are pretty much past their peak, essentially. But don't worry, we got apples, we got pumpkins.
We got everything here.
We got everything here.
Find one of our local orchards or farms and get out there, at least while we have some dry weather and no muddy fields.
Yes, you'll be a little hot, but it's a great week for it. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow at noon.